Hello, today on this video I'm going to talk about communication and how important it is to plan it, consider it and work with it really. It helps all relationships, it improves things, it avoids miscommunication, misunderstandings when you work with yourself and your needs and the other person's. All communication is one-to-one, whether you're talking to one person or a room full of people. So we need to consider that. So why it's important to understand communication, because it is complex. It is far more than just the word you use. So when we communicate with people, a big part of that is our body language. So only 7% of communication is the words we use. 7%. 35% is the tone and pitch of your voice. So the tone of your voice tells you whether it's a question, whether it's a command, whether it's just a talking, it's steady tone. So like, it does change. So what are you thinking at the moment? Your voice changes. And if you're angry, it will get higher or faster or lower or deeper. It depends how menacing you are or whether you're getting more and more excited, and that will go higher and higher as you get more. So you can see how your voice changes all the time. All of that gives us clues to how the other person is feeling. And we do this all instinctively. We read body language, voice, facial expressions, eye contact, and posture. So your posture, the way you stand, the way your body is, facial expressions and eye contact, is the other 53, 56%. I can never remember that one ever. And that gives us a clue. So if the words and the posture and the tone of voice don't match, you're going to be very unsettled and not trusting of what someone's saying or doing. It has to be congruent. And your instincts are very finely tuned and they work with you, your values, your beliefs, your needs, your protection and defences. And we do judge people and things like that all the time, whether we realise it or not. These days we tend to dismiss our instincts, our gut feelings, what we initially believe or feel, because we want to be nice, because we want to do the right thing, and those social norms tend to dictate to us rather than us trusting ourselves. So the complexities of communication, the words you use, the body language, when and where you do it, so the location and the timing. First thing in the morning may not suit everyone. Just before you finish work is definitely not a good time because it'll leave people worrying, thinking, uncertain, unable to ask questions. Where you do it, is it in a big hall? Is it one-to-one, a small office? Is it in your living room with children present or other people? Or is it in private when you've planned it, you're calm and you're not worked up about things? Because if one person says something that the other person feels attacked by, they will attack back and it will escalate very quickly, which is why that leads to arguments. And again, the timing, not only when and where, but how long. Sometimes a short 10-minute chat can really help over a longer period, each time progressing with step-by-step answers and solutions and options, rather than trying to resolve it in 3 hours. So there is that as well, so planning and communication. The other one is your audience, what they need, what they're expecting, their own filters, their values. Are they ready to hear what you're saying? Do they need introducing to it? Have they got the capacity to understand the message you're sending? Or is it very jargon filled? Is it talking about things you don't understand or you haven't explained previously? Will they understand it just because you do? So there is a lot to go into any communication, be that a quick sort of context, the text that is often misunderstood or seems very abrupt because someone else is a more gentle approach, likes to fill things out, doesn't like to read long text, whatever that might be. So you have to get to know people, you have to know what they is, even ask them how best they do it. And that also includes our communication style, which is our visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So visual people see pictures in their head. They'll describe colours, shapes, what they see. An auditory person will listen for that tone of voice, hear very, very minute changes and differences, or very acutely the word you use, is it the right word? Does it trigger them in some way? A kinesthetic person will get the vibes from you. So they'll go much more with the body language, what your posture is saying, the actual energy from person to person. And if you touch them, for example, or, sometimes a touch can, change your state, detract you from getting worked up and things like that. So it just depends on what you need to do, what your message is, and what you and the other person need from it and require from the other person, and what you can give. So communication is very, very complex, and you do have to understand it, study it, find out your own tendencies, and then you can use the right tools. You can flex to use the other person's needs. So like I am visual and kinesthetic. I will often see pictures in my head, describe them, so it takes me a long time, a lot of detail. For example, frustrate people who just want it quick, quick, quick in an ordinary fashion. Do you do it or don't you do it? How do you do it? I use a pen all the time and a paper, so I'll write it down so I'm feeling it, and I'll see the picture in my head of the paper, so I'll know what was said, remember things like that. You have to know my weak one is the auditory one. So when I talk to people who've got a strong auditory, sometimes there's a clash or a frustration or a confusion, and that can really matter. So in all relationships, if you know the other person's style, that will help. And again, your learning style, pragmatist, activist theories reflect on how you learn, what you need, the tools you need are also important and have to be prepared. So have a think of that. And the other one is, those distractions for your communication, like the two messages that have just come through on this call, just to demonstrate things and how it did distract me and it did trigger me almost to get the first one. So they're all the things you have to do in the settings, the background, who's going to be there, all the noise outside. Lots of things in communication really matter. So talking to an adult or a child will be very different. Talking to an elderly person where you have to raise your voice is harder than talking normal pace and normal volume. So work it all out, have a think about it, and be more aware of your communication and help to enhance it for you and someone else. And ask them how to communicate well with you. That sort of communication is very important. So I hope this helps. Take care and speak well.